So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Kushina. So let's start the series. However, in the roads of Konoha, it was a wonderful day, and there were individuals all over. The shippers didn't require definitely, as they had a delightful business that was sprouting in Konoha, and there wasn't a difficult situation for them as they got a ton of clients, that wasn't valid for a shelter on the opposite part of town. "Satisfy, sir," the proprietor asked as she got onto her hands and knees. "If it's not too much trouble, embrace the young lady. I guarantee you that there are no devils here. This is an evil spirit-free space, and the young lady is needing a home. Kindly, take her." "No, I saw it with my own actual eyes," the man murmured as he left the structure. "Everybody knows who the evil presence of Konoha is, and on the off chance that you anticipate that I should embrace somebody here, you can fail to remember it." He began walking not too far off, not in any event, looking behind him to see the young lady that he had been contemplating taking on. He would have rather not had a kid that could have been contaminated by that devil kid. The proprietor of the halfway house cried as she was denied indeed of a buy that could possibly save her business. She didn't have the foggiest idea how she could fix this issue, yet she realized that it had to do with moving that evil spirit rascal away from here. For quite a long time, nobody had made a buy from her, and she planned to roll out that improvement. "Naruto," she hollered angrily as she raged towards the loft, where his room was. It was the main spot she might have remembered to put him when he was dropped off here by the Hokage, and she's thought twice about it from that point onward. She wished numerous passings for this kid. Nad she at absolutely no point in the future believed that him should be here. XXXXXXXXX. Naruto was sitting down on the bed, crying since he did not know why everybody appeared to despise him. He was so upset about it. However, he realized that he planned to cause problems, as he generally did, and it generally began by somebody coming into the structure. Flashback. Naruto, Aoi, the proprietor of the halfway house, called from down in her office. Naruto immediately dashed down from his room and advanced down to her, as she never enjoyed when he wouldn't be quickly enough. He had discovered that on many events and he would have rather not gotten injured once more. "Indeed, Aoi," he addressed when he went into the room. Presently, she was a bright full lady, and she was moderately aged and single, yet she looked more established as she was beginning to get silver hair lacing with the dull earthy colored variety it had initially been. The more established kids had said it was that way from all the pressure she's experienced. In any event, that is the thing Naruto had heard from the sidelines. She had decent green eyes however to go with it that were extremely captivating, and she would have been a brilliant escort for any man in the event that they would have picked her when she was more youthful. She pivoted when she heard his voice. Presently, "Naruto," she grinned at him, and he could have done without it by any stretch of the imagination. It was constantly implied for Naruto in the event that he didn't do what she needed, and afterward he'd get a beating from her on the off chance that he treated it terribly. None of different kids at any point got this vile grin of Aoi's. "Today, we are having an extraordinary visitor coming here. You know what to do, right?" "Indeed, ma'am," Naruto said as he peered down at his feet. "Rehash it to me," she requested. "I'm not to leave my room, I'm not to contact with the visitor. On the off chance that the person in question were to go into my room, I was to stow away. I wouldn't utter a sound when I'm up in my room possibly," he presented, his voice clear of feeling. "Awesome," she answered. "Presently, are there any inquiries?" She frowned at him. That's what her eyes saying, assuming he did. He wouldn't find a solution at any rate. He shook his head. "Presently, go to your room before he arrives." Naruto then, at that point, began approaching his room, and Naruto moaned when he entered it. He would have been desolate up in his room. He had no companions, as the proprietor of the halfway house wouldn't permit him to have any, and he had no sort of toys up here since every one of them went to different youngsters first. There never was enough for him when she reached as far as it goes, as Aoi would constantly say. He likewise had nothing to variety on, as that was his number one action since he cherished craftsmanship. It was one of the times that he was responsible to get away from the world he was in. He had no learning materials either, meaning he was unable to peruse or compose, dissimilar to a portion of different children in the shelter. The others around his age were beginning to learn, and it generally made him miserable that he was unable to advance. Moreover, "Welcome," Aoi's voice conveyed all through the halfway house, and Naruto heard as each of different youngsters began to run towards the new individual, as relatively few individuals come, 2 or 3 a year at the best. There was a tune of good tidings, and he was certain that Aoi was making them put their best self forward for the visitor. Naruto just murmured as he paid attention to all the activity that was occurring for a brief period before he crept into his bed, thinking he'd have the option to have a rest as the guests never come up to his room. Aoi would constantly direct them from it before they even had the opportunity to consider it. Not a single one of them were ever difficult enough even to challenge her. Naruto had consistently imagined that was an idiotic rule, yet he needed to express it before her, or she would hurt him. She had him retain the principles when he was just 2, and presently he was 4. Naruto had nodded off when that the man and Aoi had come to the 3rd floor of the halfway house. The man saw the entryway and he was immediately inquisitive, as she had never educated him regarding additional youngsters or rooms than the ones she had as of now. "What is up there?" he questioned as he quit, looking as though he could see through the entryway with his own eyes. "There isn't anything," Aoi grinned pleasantly at him, yet within, she was concerned. This was whenever that the devil first had at any point truly submitted to her and had really remained in his room. She wasn't going to neglect it now when she was so near having the option to get a purchase from this more unusual. The others were all ready to see Naruto when they were taking a visit through the residing conditions. She was stressed that this would ruin her possibilities having one of the young ladies being embraced, as this man said that his better half had an interest in having a young lady, and he had needed to see them before she was told about them, just to check whether he'd truly like having this young lady around in his home since his better half couldn't expose any offspring of her own. "I'd very much prefer to check and ensure, however, on the grounds that no one can tell when you arrive at these sorts of spots," the man began. "Additionally, I had heard tales and I might want to see with my own eyes, assuming they were valid." "What are these tales, assuming I might ask?" Aoi addressed, worried that this talk would be about Naruto, the evil presence to her, that was remaining here. She needed no terrible business as a result of him, yet he generally appeared to come into the circle some way or another. "It's very much like squats out in the roads." He waved it off as he fired, strolling up the steps towards the room. "Allow me just to check in the event that it's locked," the proprietor proposed. "You never know with the upper room. As a matter of fact, I typically keep it locked in the event the kids would be going near. I wouldn't believe anything should happen to them. They are darlings. And it would simply make me extremely upset if it somehow managed to work out, particularly to Aiko. She's the cutest, easily overlooked detail." Aoi had seen that the man had waited when Aiko came in concern. She was just 3, yet every resident that came here cherished her. It was dependably the evil spirit imp that hindered her being embraced. However, it was such a disgrace in Aoi's eyes. Aoi rapped the door handle multiple times, just to make us see that out was locked, when it genuinely wasn't. "You see," Aoi grinned before she began strolling down the steps once more, anticipating that the guest should follow her. "The entryway is locked. Trust me when I say that you don't have anything to." She turned when she heard a commotion behind her, and she looked as the man strolled into the room. "Sir." However, it was past the point of no return. "Devil!" he shouted as he immediately dashed down the steps. She hurried along the steps to find Naruto scouring his eyes and looking befuddled as he lay in bed. She scowled at him before she immediately pursued the guest. End of flashback. Naruto immediately attempted to run down the steps to get away from the anger of the proprietor, yet he was past the point of no return. Aoi came charging at him from the opposite finish of the lobby, and he attempted to get to his room as fast as could be expected, yet Aoi got his leg when he planned to go into the room. "Get down her, you imp," she shouted as she flung him behind her. He shouted out in torment when he hit his head, tears began gushing down his face. "Don't even think about behaving like you can cry, since I realize that evil spirits can't," she insulted him, yet that mane expanded his wailing state. "Go." What? He cried his inquiry, gazing toward her with disarray and tears in his eyes. Aoi had inconvenience not accepting the tears were genuine, yet she remained quiet about believing that this was the evil spirit of Konoha, and it needed to move away from here. Leave this spot, and at absolutely no point ever return here in the future, she snarled, pushing him towards the steps that drove ground floor. He immediately hastened off the floor and he began running toward the exit of the structure, crying the entire way. Different youngsters looked on him with feel sorry for as they saw him leave, and they generally hoped everything would work out for him of karma in the rest of the world, as this had never occurred before to any of them. As yet crying as he came to the bustling roads of Konoha, nobody halted to ask where this kid's folks were, as they all knew him as the evil presence whelp. They didn't wonder whether or not to move by him, trusting he would get injured. It didn't take some time before Naruto was moved somewhere around one of the residents, and his wailing expanded. "Watch where you are going," the man snarled prior to spitting all over. It didn't take well before the roads were loaded up with Naruto's wails of agony. The people who were moms begun glancing around to check whether it were their kid, yet they found no crying kid around them. They got back to anything they were doing, with feel sorry for in their souls for the wailing kid that they couldn't put, not knowing who they were feeling sorry for. "Hi," a man relieved as he approached the crying kid. He was a shipper from Suna, so he did not know whom this kid was. The kid gazed toward him with dread in his eyes, and the vendor grinned as he attempted to hand off that he was a cordial person. Naruto was as yet reluctant about it, as he had seen this demonstration previously. He couldn't get played into it once more. "For what reason are you crying?" No response was gotten. "Where are your folks?" The main response was seriously wailing. "Good day, we'll track down them." "Yo, you know who am, my pair, guardians are, Naruto wailed, gazing toward him with interest. Naruto had never been educated regarding who his folks were, and the proprietor of the halfway house guaranteed that she hadn't known what its identity was. He truly questioned it, however, as she probably was aware every other person's parentage. "No, I don't," the man said with compassion in his eyes. Naruto began scouring at his eyes, attempting to cause them not cry to any longer tears that simply appeared to need to increment. Presently, "Would you confirm or deny that you should be at the shelter," or something to that effect. I was thrown out, he made sense of as he at long last had the option to quiet his cries. Presently, for what reason did that occur? Since the proprietor could do without me, I don't have any idea why. Naruto made sense of as 2 or 3 tears trickled down the sides of his face. "For what reason don't we get you some treats?" The shipper grinned as he at long last considered something that would encourage him. His quality was selling sweets, and he was in compelling reason need to relieve this denied offspring of some satisfaction in his minuscule world. He ventured into his pocket, and he planned to hand it to the kid when he heard something. "Hello," the evil spirits attempting to take from that shipper, an irregular man shouted as he pointed their direction. That man had been searching for a chance to pursue the expressed devil for 2 or 3 days at this point. Naruto had been stowing away from them, making it unlikely to find since he was at the shelter, attempting to remain in his now ex-room. "Get him," some person said that appeared to be his companion. Then, at that point, a horde began running towards Naruto, and Naruto dropped the candy before he began running, jumping that would dispose of his concerns. "Hello, you dropped this, and quit pursuing him. It was a gift," the dealer shouted after the crowd. however they generally overlooked him. "Are you okay, sir?" scrutinized the ladies as they generally rushed around him, attempting to soothe the man of his issues with the evil presence. "Let me help you." That tempting remark was enough for the vendor to place the kid's inconveniences into the rear of his brain. XXXXXXXXXX. Naruto was right now running from the crowd, and it simply appeared to get greater. He was unable to comprehend the reason why they were pursuing him as he had dropped the sweets, and he never really hurt the man either as it was proposed to him. He had simply needed some candy as he was ravenous for not eating at all that day. "Gotcha!" The man jeered as he got the devil by the scruff of the neck. Naruto began crying as he probably was aware the agony to come. He wanted to keep away from it, yet he simply wasn't quickly enough. "That is for attempting to take," a man shouted as Naruto was smacked upside the head by the man. Then, at that point, Naruto felt a punch to the stomach, that is for upsetting the harmony. "A side kick to the face, that is for demolishing my experience with my family. A bat to the head, that is for killing my mom." Then, at that point, Naruto felt himself fall, and he shouted in torment when he hit the ground as he had harmed his arm. Then, at that point, they began kicking him in the stomach fiercely. "Mom, Mom! Mom!" That was all Naruto was shouting at any point time he got injured. He wanted that he had a mom, somebody to safeguard him from the entirety of this savagery. He believed somebody should hold him, to cherish him, and to love him. He wanted all of that since he didn't have any other person. Up in the third floor of the structure close to where Naruto was getting a beating, a lady with long red hair lay in the medical clinic bed, desolate and in a state of extreme lethargy. She was totally gorgeous, and anybody would have killed to accompany her. However, she was as yet senseless. "Mother!" Everybody could hear that lost word, and it was hefting around the emergency clinic. Beyond the room, a medical caretaker murmured as she was with her companion, "Oh joy! This implies that that evil spirit whelp will come in here in the future," she moaned as she tossed down her papers at the medical caretaker's station. "Better believe it, for what reason might he at any point mend himself?" The companion snarled. "I mean, that is the very thing he does every time that he comes in." "You said it, young lady," the medical attendant answered before she got strolling going to her next understanding. Yet again in the room, the lady heard that single word, that one request. She hadn't heard anything in years, and presently, she was at last awakening. A direct result of her child was calling to him. Anybody that could have been in there could have seen the jerk of her finger and could have seen the enlivening of Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. Known as the Red Demise, Kushina began glancing around, attempting to remember everything around her. She broke down the entire room, sorting out that her family wasn't with her in no time. She had such countless inquiries going through her head. How long has it been since that evening? Where is my Minakuin? Where could my child be? What has occurred in Konoha? She was unable to get any of the inquiries as far away from her as possible, and she wasn't going to until she figured out her responses. Flashback. Hokage-sama, the ANBU welcomed as he raced into the house. "There is a crisis board meeting. Yet again, what might they at any point need during this season of our?" Minato addressed as he got up, contacting his significant other's pregnant stomach prior to getting up to change and prepare to go to the gathering. Presently, Tsunade is only a few doors down, and Jiraiya isn't excessively far away either. "In the event that you have any issues, tell the Minato, you stress excessively," Kushina cried, making him grin. He was consistently the killjoy among them, and Kushina subtly adored it. "However, I simply believe nothing should happen to my family." He grinned prior to giving Kushina a little kiss and running off towards the gathering. Kushina attempted to nod off, however she couldn't settle in without Minato close to her. She murmured prior to kicking up and she off leaving the room. She had begun getting awkward last evening, and she just couldn't unwind. Minato had the option to quiet her down a smidgen, yet she actually had uneasiness. She moaned prior to strolling to the kitchen gradually, not maintaining that the child should be harmed. She chose to grab a bite, her most loved ramen, Minato, and she shared that equivalent characteristic. Yet she didn't eat however much that he could swipe out anybody's wallet with only one dinner. Jiraiya generally griped about it, and Tsunade did likewise with her. It was very entertaining to Minato and her. "You know, you ought to be sleeping, young woman," Jiraiya said as he came into the kitchen while she was warming the ramen up. Wouldn't she be able to murmur accordingly? "Is it the child?" Kushina shook her head. "I have to strongly disagree. I simply feel awkward. I'm certain that it will pass soon enough however." Jiraiya gestured before he yawned. "Where's Minato at any rate?" Jiraiya addressed. There was a crisis meeting that he needed to join in. I don't know what was going on with it however. The ANBU never expressed the particulars. "They never do," Jiraiya laughed. "I'm certain that it isn't a lot to stress over however. Konoha is well taken care of, particularly with Minato as their chief." Kushina gestured and grinned at him before she wheezed in torment and snatched her stomach. "Kushina." Kushina moaned as the agony expanded and Jiraiya looked as her water broke. "Tsunade. Minato, you have been called here to illuminate you that the bijou, Kyubi no Yoko, is surrounding Konoha," Hamaru informed him. Minato's eyes enlarged in shock. "What do you have arranged, Hokage-sama?" Hayashi, his dearest companion, addressed, viewing at him with compassion as what he had arranged would likely influence the whole town profoundly. "Get me a room," Tsunade requested. The medical caretaker gestured as Tsunade followed behind her with Kushina in Jiraiya's arms. "Come on, Kushina." Jiraiya grinned at her horrendously. It was difficult for him to convey this pregnant lady, yet he did it for his understudy, and for Kushina as the two of them required this. "How about we prepare the room?" Tsunade requested, "and I need every individual who shouldn't be in here, out." Jiraiya set Kushina onto the bed, and afterward he remained close to her. "Jiraiya, that implies you as well. Somebody ought to be here to help her." "Tsunade," Jiraiya expressed, "since Minato can't, I ought to." "I'm not having you get to your debased side. Presently go let Minato know that his significant other is in the process of giving birth now." "I'm offended," Jiraiya protested as he left the room. No regard by any means. "Presently Kushina, you must pay attention to me and do all that I saw," Tsunade taught. "Indeed, teacher," Kushina wheezed as she was in torment by and by. XXXXXXXXX. Jiraiya had quite recently come to the Hokage's office, and we went in to check in the event that Minato was there, which he was to be sure. "What's going on here?" "I'm occupied," Minato addressed, not in any event, admiring C who had gone into the room as he searched for an answer for his concern. He was searching for the seal that would seal up the Kyubi no Yoko. "Minato," Jiraiya expressed. Minato promptly turned upward as he perceived the voice. He glanced around to check whether his significant other, Kushina, was here, and afterward he quickly realized what was occurring. "No," Minato murmured, placing his head in his grasp. "No, no, no, and no." "What is it, Minato?" Jiraiya addressed, frantic to see the reason why Minato was so restless about his youngster being naturally introduced to the world. "It can't be at the present time," Minato panted. "Wouldn't he be able to have held up 2 or 3 additional weeks?" "Minato, you can't control when a kid is to be conceived," Jiraiya expressed. "Presently, what has you so bothered?" "I have just found one answer for overcoming the Kyubi," Minato expressed seriously as he gazed toward his teacher with the misery that any parent would have for the deficiency of their kid. "I need to seal it into." A fair had his umbilical infant string cut. "You mean," Jiraiya panted. Minato gestured seriously. "It's my main decision," Minato said as he got off of his seat for what could be the last time, and he advanced toward the medical clinic to express farewell to his significant other and kid. XXXXXXXXXX. Kushina, push, Tsunade requested. Kushina shouted in torment as she felt her kid begin to travel through his track within her, ready to be conceived. Come on, Kushi. Another push, I can see his head. I advised you to at no point ever call me that in the future, teacher, Kushina shrieked prior to taking a full breath. Am I late? Minato addressed as he went into the emergency clinic room. Minakuen, Kushina shouted as she lifted her hand, sitting tight for him to approach her. She had believed that Minato should be hanging around for some time now, and she at long last felt prepared for that last push. Come on, Kushina, it's the final remaining one, Tsunade expressed as she arranged herself to have the option to take care of pull the child. Arg, she hollered as he snatched Minato's hand firmly while she drove her child into the world. In practically no time, there was a child crying that occupied the room. Kushina laid her head back against the cushion cheerfully. She was at long last going to see her little child, what she had been sitting tight throughout recent months. Kushina, Minato, Tsunade grinned as she came towards the couple with a group wrapped into her arms. Minato understood that it was his kid that she was holding, and he felt tears spring to his eyes at what might be occurring after not long from now. It was a clashing second for himself and one of his endures where he could see his family, his significant other. I believe you should meet your child, Kushina connected, hanging tight for her child kid to be in her arms. We did it, Kushina grinned sleepily over at her better half. We at long last got it done, Minato. She kissed his temple softly. He seemed to be a clone of Minato's, and Kushina was covertly cheerful about that reality, as she had maintained that one more Minato should go around with them. Tsunade, might you at some point leave? Briefly, Minato addressed, turning serious as need might have arisen to illuminate his better half what he was going to do. Tsunade gestured, knowing when to leave, and she sat in the lobby with Jiraiya. How's the youngster? Jiraiya addressed, turning towards his partner, and afterward one who he had covertly, or not so subtly, adored consistently. He just wished she cherished him back. The child solid, very much like his father, Tsunade grinned. What's more, Kushina, Jiraiya addressed, looking comparably serious. She was going to reply, however at that point she heard Kushina's holler all through the clinic. No. No, no, no. You can't. Not my child. What's happening? Tsunade addressed as she got up to attempt to look at what was occurring, yet Jiraiya halted her. Minato will involve the youngster for fixing the Kyubi no Yoko, Jiraiya addressed unfortunately, and Minato will not be surviving the ordeal this time. I'm worried. Jiraiya's eyes began to water, and Tsunade maneuvered him into an embrace, wanting to comfort her significant time-frame companion from the horrendous destiny that has occurred here. XXXXXXXXXX. Kushina had looked as her significant other had left, with her youngster in his arms. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, that was his name. Frenzy, that was the importance. It had been after Jiraiya's personality, and it appeared to be all so fitting. Kushina cried as she felt the misfortune so ahead of schedule of losing her Minakuen, realizing that he was never going to return and hold her, very much like she had consistently adored. He won't return and get her, fair to irritate her and be near her. He won't prevent her from any of the tricks she would need to do, and in particular, he would not have been there for her when she raised Naruto. Kushina, Tsunade addressed reluctantly as she went into the room. She realized that this must be distressing for her understudy, and she believed that nothing should happen to her, as she was the one in particular that she truly had left close to Shizune and Jiraiya. They were the only ones associating her to Konoha. Where her heart had broken into pieces, with several pieces left, she was unable to deal with any additional aggravation from Konoha. Could you simply give me a 2 or 3 minutes, teacher, Kushina addressed, as tears spilled down her face as she began to cry. "I'll go ensure that everything is ready for Naruto," she grinned unfortunately at her. Before she proceeded to give an embrace, Kushina cried into her shoulder 2 or multiple times before she pulled back, and Tsunade crushed her hand once, understanding what she was going through. Before she left the room and began strolling back to the Namikaze family with Jiraiya close behind. It had been some time that Kushina had been crying, and she watched out towards the combat zone to see the Kyubi no Yoko and Minato on top of Gamabunta. She looked as they moved towards one another, and afterward there was a splendid glimmer. Kushina hindered it with her hands, and afterward she hoped to see neither of the figures there. And she realized that Minato was dead, and afterward Kyubi no Yoko was currently fixed. Farewell, my affection. Those were her considerations as a solitary tear followed down her cheek trying to find the others. Unexpectedly, there was a commotion at the entryway, and Kushina turned towards it to see 3 ANBU with no designed creatures all over. "What are you doing here?" Kushina addressed. "I interest to realize what is happening." "We have come to encase your passing," the pioneer said as he ventured forward. "May you find happiness in the hereafter." Then, at that point, he came, quicker than Kushina was prepared for, and he cut her into the chest, where she began draining lavishly. The last thing she heard was, "Danzo-sama will be satisfied that his work is finished." "Perhaps we ought to check and ensure first," his colleague expressed. "It wouldn't be a poorly conceived notion." "Are you saying that I can't take care of business?" he addressed. "No, I'm not. I'm simply being precautious." "What are you doing in here?" they heard by the entryway. They went to see Hitaki Kakashi, embracing a child. "We should go," he expressed prior to running through of the window. Kakashi went to keep an eye on Kushina to observe that her heartbeat was falling. "Help. Someone help. She's withering in here." A few doctors immediately raced into the room, and Kakashi ventured back, trusting that Kami would beauty Kushina and let her live. Naruto would have no other spot to go in the event that she didn't. As though he could feel the pressure around him, Naruto began to cry. It wasn't only a couple of tears to a great extent, no, it was the open more, wriggling, be as clearly as possible, cry. Kakashi became unnerved as he did not know what to do, since he had never seen a kid being sustained. "Get that child out of here," one of the doctors hollered. Kakashi immediately began running towards the Hokage's office, trusting there would be somebody that would have the option to help Naruto until his mom was safe by and by. XXXXXXXXXX. So there was no indication of his body, Sarutobi addressed. "Any place?" "No, from what we read about the fixing system, he'd be in Shinigami's stomach, full body," Jiraiya expressed, loaded with torment. His understudy was no more, and he wished it was an alternate case. "It ought to have been me," he thought. "Jiraiya-sama," Kakashi expressed as he rushed in from the window, something he had developed used to when his master was his educator. "I don't have the foggiest idea how to make him stop." "You should give him to Kushina, you baka," Jiraiya expressed. "Go give him to her." "However, she's being dealt with by the surgeons. Somebody had attempted to kill Kushina in her debilitated state." Kakashi made sense of. Jiraiya's eyes augmented before he took off to find if this data as evident. On the off chance that it was, he wouldn't understand what Tsunade would do. "Here, I'll take him," Sarutobi moaned as he ventured over to where Kakashi was. Kakashi gave Naruto over as though he was a bomb, and Sarutobi laughed. "Babies can detect dread, Kakashi-san, you should confront him with strength, yet graciousness. They are for sure a hard deal to handle, however you become used to this once you have one. Or a couple." He looked as Kakashi withered, and Sarutobi couldn't resist the opportunity to laugh. He heard a cheerful chuckle, and he peered down to see Naruto applauding along with fervor. "Indeed, you like Kakashi's torment, isn't that right? Don't you, you senseless kid?" I believe that the Hokage has at last gone feeble, Kakashi thought. Hokage-sama, the gathering is set up, an ANBU part expressed as he came into the room. Sarutobi gestured while leaving, removing Naruto with him. He delighted in having him in his arms. They were so guiltless at this age. However, he could trust that Kushina would be okay when the horrendous twos descended. Those were the most awful long stretches of his life, battling the horrible twos. XXXXXXXXX. Jiraiya advanced towards the Namikaze family, where he would find Tsunade likely. He had quite recently known about what befell Kushina, and he was without a doubt grieved. He realized that Tsunade was truly just here for Kushina, and he realized that this data would break her considerably more. He was simply considering what she would do subsequently. He advanced up, and he turned towards the nursery, and he entered it. In the room was Tsunade, who just gestured in fulfillment that Kushina would have everything set for Naruto. She had ensured that nothing in here helped Kushina a lot to remember Minato, for the things that would benefit from outside input. And it didn't take well before she went to take a gander at Jiraiya, who was miserable in the entryway. "What is it, Jiraiya?" Tsunade addressed. "I need to prepare for when my understudy returns home. You realize that this will be challenging for her, and I anticipate assisting her as much as I with canning." "Tsunade," he said tragically, and Tsunade realized that something had occurred. "I'm apprehensive. I accompanied terrible news, Kushina. She was wounded by a death endeavor against her life." Tsunade's knees quickly clasped, and Jiraiya needed to race to prevent her from falling the entire way to the ground. Tsunade began wailing into his chest, and Jiraiya could do nothing however clutch her. XXXXXXXXX. "I will make a seal," Jiraiya expressed. Tsunade, Sarutobi and him were presently in Kushina's room, watching Naruto as he cuddled up to his lethargic mother. The surgeons had a go at all that they could do, however she had lost a lot of blood to be cognizant to deal with Naruto. "What do you mean?" Sarutobi addressed, as Tsunade was simply gazing at her understudy in a shocked state. "Kushina will ultimately awaken," Jiraiya said with conviction, as that is what he trusted, and we should be prepared for it. It will likewise help assuming we realize who goes into and exits the rooms. Sarutobi, you are remaining here as Hokage. You can send your ANBU down here inside the space of seconds to safeguard her. We'll all have a recipient seal so we know when, or on the other hand in the event that there is development through the entryway, as it may be the entryway will watch, however long the windows. In the event that we need to set additional security up, we will. Yet I'm certain that they won't return, as long as they realize that she is dead. They could never have left her like this in the event that they had thought she wasn't." "You are correct," Sarutobi concurred. "Make one speedy." XXXXXXXXX. It had just required an hour for Jiraiya to get everything set up, and soon Tsunade, Sarutobi and Jiraiya had the security they required for Kushina. Naruto was all the while resting close to his mom, and he hadn't uttered a sound. He recently dozed. "What might be said about Itachi?" Tsunade addressed, as yet snuffling. "Shouldn't something be said about him?" Jiraiya inquired. "He was her understudy, recall. He might have been Kushina's understudy, yet that was just a short time before he turned into a chunin," Sarutobi expressed. "He won't be remembered for the security. Neither will Kakashi," Jiraiya expressed. "However, they will be educated regarding this. We don't maintain that they should be experiencing more than they presumably, on the grounds that Itachi was Kushina's understudy for just a half year. They were close as Itachi generally came to the house to investigate Kushina at whatever point he'd have the opportunity." "Concurred," Tsunade expressed. Sarutobi gestured in understanding. XXXXXXXXX. "Are you certain about this, Tsunade?" Jiraiya addressed with asking eyes. "I need to leave, Jiraiya," Tsunade said with miserable eyes. "There is not a great explanation for me to remain now. I've been pondering this for some time. Plus, Naruto is protected. He's in a shelter," Kushina will not be awakening for some time. It had been a month since Kushina became lethargic, and Tsunade, everything being equal, were beginning to feel a little wary about her. Is it true that you are certain? Indeed, I'm certain, Tsunade expressed. Farewell, Jiraiya. Tsunade gave him a kiss on the cheek before she began leaving the entryways, just to glance back at him once. He had tears in his eyes, and she turned away rapidly before she likewise became mournful. Hold up, Tsunade heard behind her before she might actually arrive at 25 feet beyond the door. She went to see her dead darling's niece, Shizune, pursuing her. She quit, hanging tight for her to get up to speed. What on earth do you assume you are doing, Shizune? Tsunade addressed. You should turn into a chunin. Be that as it may, I want to remain with you, Shizune expressed. I need to turn into a surgeon nin, and I believe you should show me. The Hokage previously consented to it. Kindly, might I at any point accompany? Additionally, you really want somebody to go with, to stay with you, and you truly aren't awesome at avoiding inconvenience, so I'm here to assist you with that, so might I at any point come? However, fine, Tsunade murmured after a snapshot of reasoning, attempting to receive in return. The youngster had a point. Simply avoid my direction at whatever point I head betting. I'll attempt, Tsunade-sama, Shizune answered with a bow. Also, no honorifics or that sort of poo, Tsunade requested. Indeed Tsunade, Shizune replied with one more bow. Also, do you need to bow to such an extent? It's giving me a cerebral pain. I'm here to report, sir, Jiraiya expressed as he entered the Hokage's office, for his at last standard check before he had the option to leave Konoha and not need to return on month-to-month plans. It has been 10 months since Kushina had gone sluggish, and Jiraiya was at last feeling quite uncertain. Sarutobi wouldn't surrender however. As he probably was aware Kushina wouldn't by her mentality, she had consistently shown strength, even in the hours of shortcoming. Where is he now? Sarutobi addressed. Orochimaru is right now joining a gathering called the Akatsuki, a gathering that is after Jinchuriki, Jiraiya detailed. We'll need to observe a greater amount of them, Sarutobi moaned. Jiraiya, I maintain that you should observe a greater amount of them. Indeed, Hokage-sama, Jiraiya answered. What's more, Jiraiya, Sarutobi shouted toward him before he left the room, fare thee well. As usual, master, Jiraiya answered before he left the room, prepared to begin his new life. End of flashback. Kushina sat up in her bed, and she began advancing towards the entryway. She checked out first to see a wardrobe, and when she peered inside, she saw her pack, that she had carried with her from before she was gone after. She immediately took out the garments that was clinched and changed before she advanced out of the room. XXXXXXXXX. Sarutobi was gazing beyond his office towards the town, when he felt this torment on his arm. When he took a gander at it, he found it was the seal that Jiraiya had placed on him such countless quite a while back. We should go, the Hokage requested, leaping out of the room, trusting Kushina would be okay. XXXXXXXXXX. Tsunade, are you certain that we can stop? Shizune addressed. She was concerned as they were falling short on cash. She didn't believe Tsunade should remove all of their cash once more. Oof, Tsunade wheezed as she pulled up the sleeve of her shirt to see that the seal was actuated. We really want to go, Tsunade expressed as she began running towards the course of Konoha. Woman Tsunade, what is it? Shizune addressed as she at long last found her. Kushina might be in a tough situation, Tsunade expressed, stimulating in her speed. Shizune squinted her eyes, as she had been companions with Kushina as well, and on the off chance that anybody harms her, they'd feel Shizune's wrath. XXXXXXXXX. Jiraiya was watching the ladies beyond the hot springs by and by, to accumulate research, when he felt the sting in his arm that he understood what it was the moment that it worked out. It was Kushina. Hang tight, Kushina, I'm coming, Jiraiya murmured, and he began running towards Konoha, which was just a 2-hour trip in the event that he ran. XXXXXXXXX. At the point when Sarutobi showed up at the room, he thought that it is vacant. Sweep out and track down Kushina Uzumaki now. He requested the ANBU that encompassed him. I need her here soon. However, sir, isn't she dead? One of them doubted. No, and I won't have her be in grave peril, so trust for the well-being of you that she is protected, or all of you are to be sent back to the Foundation. Yet again now Go. All of the ANBU individuals rushed away, not having any desire to need to go through every one of the stages in the ninja life, regardless of whether they would finish without a hitch. Simply be protected, for the good of Minato, Kushina. Sarutobi thought before he looked for Naruto before he'd search for Kushina. XXXXXXXXX. Once more Kushina cleared her path through the roads of Konoha, glancing around in wonder. Everything was so not quite the same as what it had been the point at which she had last been cognizant. She advanced toward her home rapidly, however, as she needed to be with Naruto. She had an inclination he may be there, so she surged towards the house, disregarding individuals she caught, as her legs couldn't take bouncing across the rooftop tops. It didn't take well before she came to the Namikaze domain. She took a full breath as she recalled the despondency for her significant other, yet she entered as she must to meet her youngster. When she was in the doors, everything closely resembled it had when she had been residing here. She couldn't resist the opportunity to grin at the recognition of the multitude of great times here, the preparation ground where Minato and her would tussle a ton before they would make a beeline for embrace one another. The tree where he had declared that he cherished her, even the rooftop, where they had been watching the stars, and he had proposed to her. It was for the most part present, and she planned to keep it that way. She needed nothing unique to happen to the domain, as it was in support of the memory of her Minakuan. Yet again she immediately ran inside, and she ran all through it, calling out for Jiraiya and Tsunade, trusting they were there with her kid. She glanced all over, and observed that every one of them weren't there. She took a full breath to attempt to quiet herself before she went to where Minato and she had put away their protection. When she went into the room, she glanced over to where Minato's was generally put away, to observe that it was not there. A tear ran down her cheek as she took in the genuine reality that he was genuinely gone. She cleaned it away rapidly before she went over and put on her stuff, which was somewhat close, and she got her sword. She immediately ran out of the house, and she advanced towards the town. She did not know what Naruto resembled at this moment, thus she went up to a lady at a slow down. "Excuse me, ma'am," Kushina welcomed, "do you have at least some idea where a young man is named Naruto?" There was moment acknowledgement in her eyes, and there was likewise a displeasure that consumed in them. "I don't have the foggiest idea, nor do I give it a second thought," she expressed as she worked. "I trust that you have come here to kill him, as he is a shame of this town. He doesn't merit what he has, and he doesn't have anything by any means, in the event that I need to let you know anything. He's my child," Kushina snarled as she took out her blade, and afterward lady turned in shock, and Kushina took her spot to execute the lady. There were shouts of fear around her, and Kushina turned. "Does any other person share this bitch's order?" "Ha! Isn't that right?" Kushina strolled forward towards them, and they generally stepped back, with the exception of a gathering of men, tanked men. We pursue him." As the night progressed, hanging tight for him to pass on, the man in front slurred, "Unfortunately he's too difficult to even think about dying." Kushina swung her blade at him, and she got him solidly in the heart. He kicked the bucket immediately. Who else will have a similar destiny as this deadbeat?" she addressed, following towards the man's companions that had been behind him. They generally stupidly lifted their hands, and Kushina cleared out at them with her horrible blade. "Who are you?" one of the lady addressed, venturing forward. "Why should you slaughter these individuals?" I'm Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, spouse of Minato Namikaze and mother to Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Kushina declared, turning towards individuals. That is unimaginable, one of the ladies shouted as she got out of the ocean of individuals. Minato-kun never had a spouse or a youngster, particularly to that evil presence imp. Kushina tossed a kunai at her, as she was excessively lengthy of a distance for her to swing her sword. It hit squarely in a supply route, and she drained to death in no time. Accept what you need, yet assuming any of you discuss my child like that once more, I will kill you, Kushina shouted. I will chase you down in the event that I don't find you at the present time, and I will kill everybody of you have harmed my child, regardless of whether it was every one of you. I won't stop until I get equity. Where is your confirmation that you are Kushina Uzumaki, the Red Demise? A man addressed. You have been dead for a considerable length of time, but you currently show up. Just a single individual is permitted to utilize this blade, and I'm that individual, Kushina replied. Minato had attempted once, and it had consumed his hand, as this is a Uzumaki sword, and it will just work for the Uzumaki line. I'm one of the last, as my child is the last man of the Uzumaki and Namikaze family. I don't trust you, and I don't really accept that this Bologna that the evil spirit whelp had a mother in light of the fact that nobody like that might have had a mother. He spat, and Kushina went to him and cut him down the middle with her sword. Any other person, she hollered questioningly. Master, he heard behind her, and she went to see an ANBU coming towards her. He had a weasel veil on, and Kushina promptly knew what its identity was. It was Uchiha Itachi, her understudy. He had requested her particularly when he had turned Genin, and the Hokage at that point, her better half, had conceded him consent. She was happy that he had picked her, as she met a fabulous individual behind the cover of the Uchiha. Indeed, Itachi, Kushina inquired. We should go now, the Hokage might want to see you, he expressed as he removed his veil. Everybody panted as he treated her with consideration. She doesn't merit this treatment, a lady hollered from the group. She has killed, she should be put to equity. It is you, that should be put to equity, Itachi murmured. They were completely shocked as the Uchiha had never treated them along these lines. I have looked for a long time as you have harmed my master's child, and I'm happy that all of you are being dealt with. Presently go before I choose to kill all of you in Kushina's stead. They generally mixed away from the Wonder Uchiha, not believing him should be irritated at them. Itachi, where is my child? Kushina addressed him, and she had tears in her eyes as she wasn't brought together with her child at this point. She was unable to exposed in the event that she was unable to see him inside the following several minutes. He's coming, Kushina master, Itachi guaranteed. The Hokage is searching for him presently. He's a shrewd one, that one is. He takes after his mom in that way with all his tricking. Kushina couldn't resist the opportunity to grin as the tears remained in her eyes. Even a portion of the Genin can't get me. We suspect by the age of 8 that a portion of the ANBU won't actually have the option to find that kid. I'm only one of the fortunate rare sorts of people who might have the option to, alongside Kakashi. We've been his own watchmen however much we could, Kushina teacher. It's been hard however as the doomed board continues to disrupt the general flow. Indeed, the gathering, they are a lot of old farts, aren't they? Kushina grinned at him. Come, we should go to the Hokage's office, Itachi expressed. Kushina gestured and they got running going. Kushina through the roads while Itachi jumped from the housetops. XXXXXXXXX. What do you mean, you've thrown him out? Sarutobi snarled as he gazed down at the proprietor of the shelter. He was continuously being a miscreant, and we were losing business since he was here. The proprietor attempted to make sense of. We needed to let him go. He's just for the well-being of Kami, and you let him go with no spot to go. What were you thinking? However, I am sorry, Hokage-sama, it's not my shortcoming. Tell that to his mom when she finds out, Sarutobi snarled and looked as the proprietor withered. Hey, his mom, she faltered, may I ask who she might be? Kushina Uzumaki, he answered while leaving. He heard her cries, and he didn't feel frustrated about her by any means. Hokage-sama, an ANBU part addressed as he approached him. He had a canine cover on. Kakashi, track down Naruto now, Sarutobi requested. Kushina won't be satisfied in the event that she doesn't see her child today. Indeed, Hokage-sama, Kakashi expressed before he got surging going to find Naruto. He understood what Kushina resembled when she was pissed, and he would have rather not seen that once more. She began at the clinic, thoroughly searching in the entirety of the rooms, in the event they would deceive him. He wasn't there, then, at that point. He went to the recreation area, since he generally came here to attempt to find companions that would play with him. He wasn't there. Naruto, where are you? Kakashi addressed as he ran towards the foundation, checking whether he'd watched the children as they prepared. No sight of him. The following thing he checked was the Hokage's mountain. As he had seen Naruto go up there a couple of times, just to be distant from everyone else, it was by all accounts the main spot that he could really enjoy some harmony. Kakashi immediately hurried up, and he was right there, sitting on the fourth Hokage's, his father's, head. He was constantly found him on Kakashi's teacher's head. It was like he knew who the fourth was, subliminally. Naruto, Kakashi expressed as he showed up behind him. Naruto immediately turned, apprehensive that it was one of the aggressors, to find it was the canine man, as Naruto jumped at the chance to put it. Canine man, Naruto shouted as he hopped up to embrace his legs. Naruto had seen him around, and he had been helped by this man at whatever point he was in a difficult situation, alongside one that was a weasel. He was thankful to him, and he was happy to such an extent that he was at long last going to welcome him face to face, as he would constantly vanish at whatever point he'd attempt to move toward him. Canine man, Kakashi asked. It's on your cover, Naruto made sense of, and there's Weasel Man likewise. Kakashi couldn't resist the opportunity to grin as Naruto alluded Itachi to Weasel Man. The Hokage needs to see you, Kakashi expressed. Why now? I was simply thinking, and afterward Gigi-san needed to demolish it. Naruto moped. He maintains that you should meet somebody, Kakashi expressed. Who? 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 Tell me. I can't. Hokage must. Naruto moped at that. May I get you, Naruto? Of course, canine man. Kakashi squinted his eyes as Naruto by and by called him that excruciating name. However, he said nothing, since it was good to see that Naruto was agreeable around him. He was happy, as Naruto had been one of the ones he thought often about, regardless of whether Naruto hadn't been aware of it. XXXXXXXXX. Kushina, Sarutobi murmured as he saw she was in her office with Itachi. However, there was no Naruto anyplace. Where is my child, Sarutobi-san? Kushina addressed as she stood up, checking out him, attempting to track down him. Please accept my apologies to illuminate you, however. He's here, Kakashi expressed as he came into the room. Naruto promptly glanced around, and he saw the ANBU with the weasel cover right away. Weasel man, Naruto shouted. Kakashi couldn't resist the opportunity to laugh as he heard Itachi begin to stifle, frightened. Naruto, Sarutobi expressed, overlooking his articulation for the present. However, Naruto was tireless to make himself clear. Canine man, put me down, Naruto requested, and Kakashi did as he was requested from, disregarding the name, and Naruto went to Itachi, or Weasel Man, to embrace his legs, very much like he had accomplished for Kakashi. Thank you for dealing with me, Weasel Man. Then, at that point, he ventured away to go to the Hokage, Gigi-san. Hi, Naruto, Sarutobi laughed, as he was consistently happy when he have opportunity and willpower with his grandson. We'll have to talk later, yet for this moment, I believe that you should meet somebody. Who? Naruto addressed as he glanced around, a few seconds ago seeing a lady with red streaming hair and ninja gear on. Who is that? That is your mom, Sarutobi replied. Mom, Naruto addressed, I have a mom. Indeed, Naruto, yes you do, Sarutobi grinned, how about you go express greetings to her? Naruto tentatively strolled forward towards her, not certain on the off chance that they were coming clean with him or not. He had been harmed so often, that he couldn't actually say whether she could be relied upon. It made Kushina extremely upset seeing Naruto like that. Naruto, Kushina murmured, making Naruto stop, will you come to mom, please? Her voice broke toward the end, however Kushina looked as Naruto's psyche probably perceived her in some way. Mom, he hollered as he ran advances, giving himself wholeheartedly to her. She got him, and she held him firmly, not having any desire to give up. He had not gotten the adoration that he really wanted, she could see that unquestionable requirement, yet she planned to compensate for that reality. She won't stop until he was prepared. This was her family here, and these were individuals that Naruto truly should have been minded from. In her psyche, there would be others en route, yet she won't allow these individuals to mishandle him, and she was happy for the way that they all had looked after her child while she was out cold. My child, Kushina murmured, embracing him much more tight than previously. My child, Kushina felt a few tears slip from her eyes and roll down her cheeks, then Naruto pulled back to check her out. Try not to cry, Naruto hollered, attempting to brush away the tears that continued to move down her cheeks. He had a baffled look on that helped her such a huge amount to remember herself at whatever point she was unable to get something right, and she really wanted to snicker. What is it now? You are such a lot of like me, Kushina giggled. Truly, Naruto addressed. Truly, she expressed evilly before she began stimulating him. Mother, Mama, Naruto heaved as she continued to stimulate him. Stop. Fine, she expressed prior to turning him around so he was confronting the others. Then, at that point, she laid her head on his and folded her arms over him. She had seen that he actually looked such a lot of like her Minakuan, and there was an aggravation in the heart for it actually hurt for her deficiency of her adoration. I'm expecting that you would in any case take the Uzumaki Namikaze home, Sarutobi expressed as he understood she was prepared for business. Indeed, we will, and Kakashi, Kushina said as she turned towards him, you are free to come live with us assuming you would like, as I realize that you are presumably living all alone. It'd be my honor, Kushina-san, Kakashi expressed as he removed his veil. You mean K9 Man is coming to live with us, Naruto addressed, and there was a tick that showed up on Kakashi's brow. Itachi really wanted to laugh until the consideration was turned towards him. Is Weasel Man coming as well? Presently it was Kakashi's chance to laugh. No, Weasel Man has his own family around, Kushina answered, appreciative Naruto had given her some way to prod Itachi. As he was returning to that Uchiha state, she generally couldn't stand it. Presently, back to business, Sarutobi expressed, making the others take a gander at him. We really want to discuss your seat in the board. I'll take it, Kushina expressed. The time has come for somebody to work on something for this impacted town, and I anticipate improving things, beginning with the foundation. We have an unfortunate framework that requirements helping since when I was as yet conscious previously, we had too many out of the foundation losses of life. I anticipate owning that, with your assistance obviously. I'd be respected. It'd be great to have somebody on my side at any rate. Sarutobi grinned at her. Will you be taking the Namikaze or Uzumaki side? I was thinking both until Naruto grows up to take the Namikaze gathering seat. It'd be shrewd that we keep the Namikaze side open. You realize that they will be requesting to recover that represent regrowth of the Namikaze state, Sarutobi expressed. I'll deal with that all things considered, Kushina expressed. Sarutobi gestured before he considered something different. When might you like Naruto to begin in the foundation, and will you take your position again? In a hurry, and indeed, I figure I will take my ANBU position in the future, as I'm certain that I'll have another group. However, it's been some time since I've been in it, so I'll have to rehash a preparation to find a workable pace. Sarutobi gestured, feeling that this was smart too. Hokage-sama, an ANBU expressed as he jumped into the room. The gathering demand a gathering with you in respects of the recent developments. Okay, we'll be there in no time flat. Sarutobi gestured and moaned when the ANBU shut the entryway. Kushina, you have caused me issues. I am sorry for harming you, Sarutobi-san, yet I won't lament what happened today. They generally merited it, as they were discussing my child, and I trust that the Shinigami doesn't treat them compassionate, Kushina answered. Presently, Naruto, how about you play with Weasel Man while I go to the gathering? Master, Itachi said with an advance notice of to avoid it once more. Weasel Man, she whimpered getting up as Naruto went to Itachi. Sarutobi left the room with her right behind him. Kakashi accompanied them to the gathering as he watched Kushina. He believed that nothing should happen to his teacher's significant other any longer than whatever has proactively occurred. Calm, Sarutobi called when he went into the room as there previously was a ruckus in the board room between the regular citizen and ninja segment. Kushina followed him in with her head as high as possible. At last, there is some equity, as you see the culprit there, Koharu expressed when she saw Kushina. She should be captured. You, the ANBU behind her, capture her as she has perpetrated wrongdoings in Konoha. I will not. I just take orders from the Hokage and Kushina-sama, Kakashi answered, and Kushina really wanted to sneer as she saw Koharu's jaw slack. Excuse me, Koharu addressed. Kushina-san isn't to be captured, as it was in her right, Sarutobi reported. What right does she need to kill those regular people, and not hand them over to the Uchiha police, a committee part addressed. It's justified of being a mother, and as those individuals have overstepped the law that I had proclaimed against viciousness of Naruto Uzumaki, the Kyubi Jinchuriki. Who is her kid then? Hamaru addressed. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Kushina replied. There were a few heaves of shock as the data was delivered that the fourth Hokage had a child. I exhort that we have a blood test, to ensure that this data isn't bogus, Koharu expressed. Are you saying that I don't have any idea who my child's dad is? Kushina snarled. No, yet we don't have the foggiest idea, she answered. In any case, I do, Sarutobi sneered as they turned towards them. I was there for the wedding, obviously. Wedding? The forward was rarely hitched, Fugaku Uchiha expressed. Indeed, it was, Hayashi detailed. I was there, too, and I take Kushina's assertion that Naruto is Minato's child, on the off chance that you can't see the similarity, I should say that you are visually impaired. Very right, Hyuga-san, Shikaka Nara concurred. Each Nara had the option to tell the likeness. Why didn't you bring it up previously? Koharu murmured. Since no other person did, Shikaku expressed. This made certain individuals laugh, as they additionally knew how lethargic the Nara family was. Presently, on to another subject, Sarutobi called. Shouldn't something be said about the group rebuilding follow-up on the Uzumaki and Namikaze factions? Hamaru addressed. That isn't one we will discuss, Kushina conflicted, at any rate, for a long while, as Naruto isn't mature enough to uncover youngsters. However, you are, Koharu expressed with a grin as she at long last got her. Essentially she suspected as much. Naruto would and will constantly be my lone youngster, Kushina reported. However, the demonstration states. It doesn't matter at all to me what that accursed demonstration states, assuming I decided to uncover another youngster, which I don't see occurring, I ought to choose to then, at that point, yet on the off chance that not, then, at that point, I won't. It is my decision, not the gathering's decision. I concur, Sarutobi expressed. Boo, however Hokage-sama, This is over the top, Hamaru said in the protection of Koharu, it's to bring about some benefit for Konoha, and it will be finished. It is Kushina's decision to uncover more kids, and that wouldn't shock me the slightest bit in the event that she didn't. It is difficult to lose the one that you love, as some of you may definitely be aware. He was pointedly gazed at his colleagues, presently, for the following thing to take care of. At the point when will Naruto be participating in the seat of the committee, Shikaku addressed. That is silly, Koharu murmured. He'll join when he grows up, Kushina answered. That will be the point at which he is 18, presently, I recommend that we get the subjects off of my family, please. Presently, that you are alert, we really want to manage the death endeavors against your life, Sarutobi said seriously. He was going to proceed, yet somebody strolled in. Am I past the point of no return? They generally went to see Jiraiya in the window, gasping and perspiring. Am I past the point of no return? Past the point of no return for what, Jiraiya Baka, Kushina addressed, and there were a few pants from a portion of the gathering individuals at the unpolished insolence towards the Sennin. Kushina, say thanks to Kami, you are alive, Jiraiya expressed as he came into the room cheerfully. It seems I didn't need to run the whole way here. Indeed, apparently you must be running once more, Kushina answered as she pivoted, as you have broken your commitment as a guardian, and I will make sure that you are in much torment assuming that I get you just after this gathering is finished. Kushina, not you as well, Jiraiya whimpered, continuously getting injured by Tsunade, thinking what Kushina was talking about was a joke. Kushina turned so her right eye was taking a gander at him, and Jiraiya froze as he saw the disdain in those eyes. You were saying, Kushina addressed. Yet, Kushina. I needed to go as it was a mission for teacher and the town, S-class mission, Jiraiya asked, understanding what sort of harm this lady would have the option to do in the event that she really pursued him with executioner expectation. The most horrendously terrible thing about it was that Tsunade wouldn't have the option to be here to recuperate him this time. Shouldn't something be said about what you guaranteed Minato, that you'd deal with our kid, if anything somehow managed to happen to us, regardless? I needed to, however the gathering wouldn't let me. That is completely false, Koharu shouted from her spot. However you wouldn't let those ready to take on him be embraced, I could add, Hayashi expressed, as I obviously recollect being dismissed, upon demand, of embracing Naruto. Kushina turned her glare on the regular citizen segment, as far as she might be concerned was consistently them. Kushina, don't lose track of the main issue at hand, Sarutobi exhorted. I'm certain that you'd very much want to kill the greater part of the town, and I'm certain that you'd have the option to, however we really want certain individuals to remain alive. I'll let the Hyuga, Nara, Yamanaka, Akimichi factions stay alive, alongside Uchiha Itachi and Hitaki Kakashi, Kushina expressed, for certain different exemptions too. Why not my tribe, Fugaku addressed, would we say we are not sufficient to be in it? No, on the grounds that you dismissed Obito Uchiha, one of the main great individuals that I've seen, alongside Itachi and his companion, that has the fairness of being permitted to live assuming I had any contemplations on it. However there is one I would have on my side, in the event that I could. Who? Uchiha Mikoto, my better half. Why her, he addressed. She used to be my dearest companion, alongside Hana Hyuga. That's what on the off chance that you recollect, Fugaku, Kushina answered. On the off chance that you don't, you are considerably surprisingly enormous-headed. Is that intended to be an affront? Fugaku thundered. Congrats, Fugaku, you really know the distinction, Kushina expressed blissfully while applauding Riley. Why you? Uchiha, I propose you cool it before I boot you out of this room. Presently, Sarutobi exhorted. Fugaku sat once more into his seat and he boasted, since Kushina has drawn it out into the open, I currently perceive how careless I've been treating this committee, and I will have it uniquely in contrast to now on, particularly the regular citizen board. Presently, we will progress forward from where Jiraiya had hindered us. May I kindly demonstration on this? Jiraiya addressed Kushina. Sarutobi asked, and Kushina gestured. Jiraiya plunked down right close to her and he gave her a conciliatory grin. Kushina turned towards him, and she held out her hand. He snatched it, and she pressed his hand reassuringly before she turned towards Sarutobi. He grinned thankfully in alleviation prior to continuing. What had happened the evening of October 3rd, the evening of the Kyuubi assault? I had brought forth my youngster, Naruto, Kushina answered. Then, at that point, what occurred later? Minato came into the room, letting me know his arrangement of utilizing Naruto to seal the Kyuubi no Yoko. Kushina, who went after you? Hayashi addressed. It was some ANBU with no veil signature. They had said Danzo-sama would be satisfied that his work is done. Similarly, as I had dropped from blood misfortune, Kushina replied, and there were wheezes from a portion of the chamber individuals, while Koharu and Hamura froze. Hokage-sama, I request that Danzo be arrested, Hayashi requested. I concur, master, acquire him without a moment's delay, Jiraiya expressed. Yo, you must be joking, Koharu stammered. You couldn't actually say whether he had really done this. I propose that Koharu and Hamura be arrested. Shikaka Nara overwhelmed by their responses. I would agree that they was aware of this arrangement. Anbu-san, remove them, Sarutobi requested, yet first have Weasel-san help you, as he is in my office with Naruto still. Indeed, Hokage-sama, he snarled, as he was distraught at the discussion had taken. He actually thought it was his problem for what had befallen Kushina, and he wasn't going to allow that to reoccur, to neither Naruto or her. He swore it. Following 2 minutes, Itachi and Kakashi came pursuing a light-haired speeder. Naruto, you shouldn't run into the gathering, Itachi expressed. In any case, Weasel Man. Mom's in here, Naruto whimpered when he was in Kushina's arms, and she felt him quickly unwind. When she peered down, he was dropped from fatigue. Presently, arrest these two, Sarutobi requested, not in any event. Taking a gander at his previous colleagues, Itachi and Kakashi consented. They generally looked as Koharu left the room, kicking and shouting, and Hamura just conformed to his destiny, strolling with his head down. Presently, we should return to business. We can't, Fugaku expressed, as there are some not in that frame of mind here. Is it true or not that you are discussing my kid, Fugaku? Kushina addressed, a kid who is obviously sleepless. It doesn't make any difference. He could awaken any second and talk our mysteries out to the town and others, Fugaku expressed. Leave him here, Hayashi went against. He merits his rest, similarly as your child, Sasuke, does. Are you saying that I don't have the foggiest idea how to investigate my own kids? Perhaps you ought to deal with your little girl, Hinata, some more. She could utilize significantly more strength to make it in this world. She has more strength than your child, Sasuke, does, Hayashi expressed icily as Hinata was a delicate subject, as he very realized that she was frail. I accept that you are both of you, calm, Sarutobi requested, assuming you might want to proceed with this quarreling, go outdoors. Everybody was quiet from that point onward. Now that is all together, we really want to discuss a few things that Kushina had drawn out into the open. Kushina, you might address everyone. Right, thank you, Sarutobi Jiji, Kushina answered. Sarutobi really wanted to laugh, as that was what Naruto had taken to calling him. She turned towards the others, with some trouble, as she had Naruto in her arms, yet she did. They generally turned their consideration towards her. The genin demise rate in this town is contemptible and shameful. What do you mean by that? Fugaku thundered, which made Naruto hop conscious and quickly search for any peril that was coming towards him. Naruto, it's okay, Sarutobi guaranteed him, As Kushina was in the middle of scowling at Fugaku, Naruto began grasping onto his mom, and it took all he had not to cry. Kushina held him truly, and soon Itachi returned into the room. "Will you go with Weasel Man, Naruto?" Kushina cooed, stressed over her kid's response. "How has this town treated him?" Naruto shook his head, and Kushina motioned for Itachi to have a seat. "Where is Dog-san, Anbu-san?" Sarutobi addressed. There was a touch of trouble getting Koharu into her cell, Hokage-sama, however he is there to oversee them, as he doesn't confide in the other Anbu with justifiable cause, Itachi answered. Itachi held his arms out towards Naruto and he reluctantly moved into Itachi's lap. Itachi promptly began shaking him this way and that, and soon, he was sleeping. "Much thanks to you, Itachi," Kushina murmured to him. "I surmise this will be one more sort of preparing, something you would need to show me this time." Itachi couldn't resist the opportunity to grin under his veil as he gestured. He was genuinely happy to have his master back, regardless of whether she was only oblivious throughout the previous 4 years. "Now that he's back snoozing, we can proceed," Sarutobi expressed, "and Fugaku, you should hold your voice down." Kushina scowled at him indeed, and it didn't take some time before she made them sweat, regardless of whether he attempted to conceal it. There are such a large number of death causalities that happens to those that come straight out of the Foundation, and I exhort that we change what they do there. "What might you exhort, Uzumaki-san, or is it Namikaze-san?" Choza addressed. "I would rather that it'd be Uzumaki for me, as my significant other is dead," Kushina replied. "However, my child can remain with the Namikaze name, as that is his inheritance." There were gestures of understanding, and afterward she forged ahead with Choza's inquiry, "For the Foundation, I say that we take a portion of the set of experiences segment out, as there will be no genuine requirement for us to as ninja, and we acquaint the kids with a portion of different towns and nations. They will undoubtedly go there one day, so they ought to essentially know the fundamental information on the said town or country." "When might that be suggested?" Shikaku addressed. "The first and second year in the Foundation would take those courses with tests all through the years just to ensure that they would in any case recall them, and that they would read up for more data assuming they would need to. It would be exposition based. As we don't have the foggiest idea the amount one might gain from these nations, since there might be more interest in one nation for one youngster, while some other would pick another one. What might you suggest for the higher-up classes, Uzumaki-san?" Inochi addressed. "For those, we'd accomplish them administer all on training courses, with some insight in what is to happen," she replied, "and in the aftermost 2 years, accord or take, we'll abode them into teams, and acquire them accomplishing lower D-ranked assignments, aloof so they could get acclimated to what happens afterwards they get out of the academy. This would accomplish for the alteration in the ranked guides also. You acquire anticipation a lot about this." For addition, who aloof woke up, Fugaku stated. "My bedmate and I had been cerebration about this afore the QB attack. To change this apple for the better, I am aloof accomplishment what we had anticipation before." "It's excellent," Sarutobi stated. "You will acquire to acquaint me added aback you arise up with it later, as I am accepting tired, and I would like to get some sleep. A fresh will alpha the changes with the alpha of a budding year." They all nodded in agreement. "All right, dismissed." Anybody got up, and Jiraiya, Itachi, Kakashi and Kushina fabricated their way out and arised the Namikaze estate, but they were chock full by Hayashi. "Kushina," Hayashi greeted as he advanced, his accoutrements open, and Kushina agreeably accustomed the hug. "We, Hyuga, are so beholden that you are now awake, and I am abiding that Hana will be animadversion on your aperture aback. I acquaint her of this." "Yes, well, she was consistently the affectionate and abashed one." Kushina giggled as she remembered Hana from the old days. "You charge a rise over to the acreage tomorrow," he stated. "We won't acquire a no for an answer." "Sure," Kushina smiled, "but for now, I'd like to go back home, and absorb my time with my anew acquainted child. And I apperceive that you will do great, Hayashi replied afore he started walking off already again. They fabricated their way already again, and afresh already Kushina was in the house. She took Naruto from Itachi, and she fabricated her way up to her room, as she didn't appetite to abstract it from her son, abashed that this was all a dream. Good night, Kushina, they all declared afore they went to their sleeping quarters. Jiraiya would advise Kakashi with that, forth with Itachi, if he chose to break actuality for the night, which Kushina affected he would, as it was late, and they both capital to get to apperceive anniversary added already again. Mommy, Naruto questioned sleepily as he opened his eyes bisected way, where are we? We're home, Naruto-kun, Kushina smiled at him as she laid him down, we are assuredly at home. Tsunade-sama, Shizun yelled as she was growing tired, and they had a few hours to go afore they got to Konoha. She knew that Tsunade was additionally growing annoyed as well. I advanced that we stop and blow for now. We can't, Tsunade growled, we acquire to get there to Kushina as fast as we can. She ability be in trouble. Tsunade, if we don't stop now, neither of us will be able to action addition off for her. As we be exhausted, we can blow for a brace hours afore activity already again, Shizun explained. You're right, she sighed, let's go to the abutting auberges to get some Betty by though, as I don't appetite to accumulate watch. Shizun nodded in acceding and they fabricated their way arise the abutting city. We're about there, Kushina, authority on aloof a little longer, for our sake. XXXXXXXXX. Open this door. I appeal that you accessible this aperture appropriate now. That was heard at the Namikaze acreage at 1 o'clock in the morning. Itachi groaned as he woke up and fabricated his way to the aperture sleepily. He opened it to acquisition Hana Hyuga in advance of him. It's 1 in the morning, Hyuga-san, can't this wait? Itachi questioned. No, she yelled, it cannot wait, as I appeal to see her now. Hana, are you aggravating to death? Watch up my child, Kushina growled as she came bench with a bathrobe on. I had aloof gotten him into bed a few hours ago. Kushi-chan, Hana screamed with joy and she ran arise Kushina, and in turn, tackled her to the ground. My apologizes, Kushina-san, Hayashi declared as he came alive into the abode as well. I did not beggarly for her to arise alive at this time of night. I had abreast her that you would be advancing over tomorrow, but she wouldn't listen. It's actually fine, Hayashi, Kushina giggled, Hana never listens aback she's on a mission. You are actually appropriate about that, Hayashi sighed. Mommy, they heard Naruto catechism from the bedroom, where are you? Mommy? Hana, let go, Kushina needs to get to her child, Hayashi stated. I'll arise with you, Hana resolved, I've consistently capital to accommodated your child, Kushi-chan, and now I get the time to do it. Hana, stop calling me Kushi-chan, Kushina growled as she fabricated her way up the stairs. I've been afterwards you for 4 years, Kushi-chan, and that is a lot of time to accomplish up, Hana replied, especially aback I was abreast that you were cold instead of comatose. Why didn't they acquaint me of that allotment of information? It's aloof abject how they would apathy me like that, I beggarly really. I am your best friend, they could acquire at Atomic warned me of this event. Kushina sighed breathing. Hana was activity to accumulate aggressive on until she got her answers. She was consistently the mother hen of the team, with Mikoto and Kushina actuality her children, as they admired to alarm it. Mommy, Naruto questioned as anon as he heard them, and he started alive arise the articulation that he heard, acquisitive his mother would be there. Yes, baby, Kushina stated, I'm appropriate here. There is no charge to worry, Kushina best him up, and she went into her allowance already again, you should be asleep. I'm apologetic mommy, but I didn't apperceive area you were, He replied with a yawn, I appetite mommy to break with me, forever. Alright, sweetie, Kushina smiled at her, let's lay bottom ward now, huh? Naruto nodded with addition yawn and Kushina laid a budding to her child, Hana absently that she capital to break the night, so she put herself appropriate a budding to Kushina. Mommy, who's that? Naruto questioned as he noticed the woman that laid a budding to his mother. That's your auntie, Kushina replied, she's activity to be blockage the night with us, as connected as her bedmate doesn't mind. I don't have perception at all, Hayashi replied as he entered the room, I had a activity she'd appetite this so I took the alternative of packing her bag. Thank you, Hayashi-kun, Hana replied as she snuggled into the pillow, I'll see you tomorrow, love. Good night, my Hana-chan, Hayashi replied as he kissed her good night afore he larboard the allowance to avenue the house. Good night, Auntie Hana, Naruto yawned, good night, mommy, afresh he was out like a light. He's such a candied one, Kushina smiled. You aloof delay until he's advanced awake, Hana giggled. He's added like you then you will anytime apperceive in the accompaniment that he's in, he'll be advanced breathing and pranking by breakfast time. I'll be accessible for him then, Kushina smiled as she too went to sleep. XXXXXXXXX. In a bunker, about beneath the Hokage mountain, there was a man in his appointment with bandages accoutrement bisected of his face and bottom ward his larboard side, and afore him, were his basis ANBU, report, he snapped, as he was afflicted with some of the account that he had acquired. It does arise that Kushina Uzumaki is alive, sir, and she is now reunited with her son, the ANBU afore him replied. This isn't declared it happen, he shouted, authoritative some of the affidavit abatement off of his board in a fit of rage, that demon brat was declared to be mine. What do you plan on doing, Danzo-sama, the ANBU questioned. Kill her, I appetite her dead, Danzo growled, and the ANBU started alive to do their assignment. XXXXXXXXX. You capital to see me, Sarutobi Jiji, Kushina questioned as she entered the Hokage's appointment with Naruto in her arms, still asleep, they hadn't a far at all, and they were altogether accomplished with that. I was aloof apprehensive what abroad you planned for the academy, as I knew that Minato and you were breathing about it, he questioned. We were additionally cerebration about accretion the jutsus that they are appropriate to learn, we additionally should acquisition out about their elements early, as it ability advice with their training, as in taijutsu, we charge to accessory aboriginal what affectionate of affairs that they ability go in, but that can consistently change. It's aloof affectionate of seeing what they would like to do in the profession, and we will not abide any fangirls or fanboys in the academy, that was Minato's request. Sarutobi chuckled as he knew how abounding fangirls that Minato had had. Kushina would consistently go in a anxious acerbity that Minato would acquire to calm consistently aback they went outside, it had gotten worse aback she was pregnant, and so they had absently to accumulate Kushina inside, alone activity about the Namikaze estate, they were altogether accomplished with that. Is there any added that we may exceed for the academy? Sarutobi questioned. Let's see, beneath history, added advice on added countries, added jutsu learning, added training, no fangirls/boys, that looks to be aloof about it, she replied, oh, I about forgot. You should alternation them so that they can acquire their own specialties, like I've heard from Kakashi that there is a adolescent in the academy that can alone do taijutsu, you should accomplish abiding that he learns added in that department, while aggravating to amount some added things out, and you should acquire the accouchement administer chakra weights, as to access the acceleration of their fighting, the added chakra weights that they can handle, the better, additionally acquire them alpha accomplishing laps every day, that way they'll be able to get acclimated to them. Alright, we'll accumulate that in mind, Sarutobi answered, now, I'm abiding that Hana Hyuga would like you to go over to her estate. Yes, I've got it accomplished into my arch by now, Kushina replied. She came to my abode at 1 o'clock in the morning aloof to see me after most night. I mean, arise on, we bear some Betty by for Cammy's sake. Couldn't she acquire waited at atomic 8 hours or so? Kushina, they heard, and they looked out of the window to see Mikoto alive bottomward the streets, aggravating to acquisition her. Where are you? You bigger not be alienated me, missy. You acquire some austere acknowledgment to do. And you apperceive it. Now, get your ass over here. You couldn't acquire waited a little to jinx it, Sarutobi Gigi. Kushina sighed as she started abrading Naruto's back, as he was starting to death watch up. Well, you bigger get bottom ward there, as I'm abiding that Hana will accompany in if you don't get going. Sarutobi chuckled, already starting to apprehend some babble from the Hyuga compound. Kushina sighed and she ran out of the window and fabricated her way arise the estate. Sarutobi watched as Mikoto assuredly saw Kushina and started antagonism afterwards her. You'll charge luck, Kushina. You'll charge a lot of it to contrivance your teammates and your sensei. Afresh he confused assimilate article that every Kage didn't appetite to do. Paperwork. XXXXXXXXX. Kushina started alive arise the Hyuga compound, authoritative abiding that Mikoto was alive afterwards her. It didn't booty connected afore she was spotted, jumping the rooftops afterwards her. Kushina, Mikoto yelled, wait up. Why are you in such a bustle to get abroad from me? I'm not, she replied at the aforementioned volume. Hana wants me to be over at the Hyuga compound, as in ASAP. That bad, huh? Mikoto questioned. Who's the kid? My son, Kushina replied, as she looked bottomward for a additional to see Naruto starting to rub his eyes. So you are assuredly alive up, huh? Good morning, mommy. Naruto smiled at her afore putting his accoutrements about her neck. She adapted him so that he was accepting a back ride, and they were off already again. Son, Mikoto gasped from area she had chock full afore she started alive afterwards. Kushina, already again, you had a son? Mikoto, you knew that I had a child, Kushina replied. Yeah, but aback they had said that you had died from childbirth. I had affectionate of ample that he had died as well, as they had never said annihilation about him. Mikoto, can't you see the similarities amid Minato and Naruto? Kushina questioned. Yeah, now that you acknowledgement it, Mikoto grinned, Kushina acquainted like palming her face. Mommy, who's Minato? Naruto questioned. Minato is your daddy, Kushina answered, tears arising to her eyes. Where is he? Naruto inquired, attractive around, aggravating to see addition that looked like him. He capital his dad to pop up, aloof like Kushina had in his life. Naruto, Kushina stated, he died the day that you were born. What happened? He questioned. There was an advance on the village, Kushina explained. He died to save Konoha. Naruto nodded, demography in this advice like a blot does with water. He was sad to apprehend that he didn't acquire both parents, clashing a lot of the kids in the village, but he was blessed that he did acquire his mom to advise him through. Mommy, don't cry, Naruto yelled and coiled his accoutrements about as anon as he saw the breech blooper from her eye ducts. Naruto started wiping her face again, with an agitated look. It acquired Mikoto to beam at the sight. He's aloof like you, Kushina, she giggled, just like you. I've been told that already, Kushina smiled. Now, let's go afore Aunt Hana comes and gets us. But there's Auntie Hana now, Naruto said, pointing at the alive woman. Oh boy, Kushina sighed, breathing that Hana was apparently activity to bawl at them for actuality late. Kushi-chan, what acquire I told you about actuality on time. I mean, it's no alibi that you arise alive and afterwards aggregate is already set up, and what affectionate of actuality would that be? You bigger not access your son that way. I am not activity to abide it at all. The Hokage had capital to see me, Hana-chan, Kushina replied. you apperceive that I can't aloof skip out on that, and a fresh Mikoto-chan came alive to acquisition me, so I had to stop and say hello. You didn't stop though, Mikoto stated. Alright, I was still alive. Arise your estate, but a fresh Naruto asked about Minato, and I had to stop to acquaint him at atomic something. Oh, Kushi-chan, Hana melted, and she ran advanced to hug them, Naruto ashore in the middle. I'm so sorry. It's alright, Hana-chan, Kushina replied. Now, let's get activity to your party, huh? Yes, let's go, Mikoto smiled, Hana nodded, and they ran arise the compound. Already they fabricated it. There was an army of Hyugas at the gate, with Hayashi in advanced with a little babe adhering to his pants that looked about Naruto's age, and there additionally was a babyish in his arms, that looked about 10 months old. Welcome Kushina, Hayashi smiled at her. It appears that Hana went out to acquisition you, already again. Yes, well, she's assertive about my attendance actuality at your estate, Kushina joked. Maybe I should acquire waited to beating on your aperture at 1 o'clock in the morning also. Hana-chan, really, Mikoto questioned. I couldn't wait, Hana gushed. Besides, you wouldn't acquire waited as connected as I did to see her also. How connected did you wait? Mikoto inquired. 3 hours. I'm appealing abiding that I would acquire waited, Hana-chan, Mikoto smiled. No, you would acquire ran appropriate away, not caring if I was accepting accessible to go to Betty Bye or not, Kushina stated, which acquired anybody to cackle at the behavior of the trio. Mommy, can I be put down? Naruto questioned. Kushina nodded, and she boring put bottomward her little blonde, to see him walking arise Hayashi, hello, he was attractive bottomward at the little babe that hit alike more, and she had a bloom on her face. Who are you? I'm Hina, Ada, she stuttered. My name's Naruto, Naruto smiled. Hell, lo na, Naru, too. Do you appetite to comedy with me? Naruto asked quietly, allurement with his eyes to acquire at atomic one friend. Hinata smiled shyly and nodded. Come on, Hinata. Let's go. Naruto ran advanced and took her duka 4. They ran off. Niji, why don't you go comedy too? Hana suggested. Cerebration. It would be an acceptable abstraction for them to get to apperceive anniversary other. Yes ma'am, Niji replied afore she ran to bolt up with them. Come, let's go inside, Hayashi suggested, and they all agreed, animated as they went. XXXXXXXXX. Come on, Shizune, Tsunade yelled as she sped faster. We're about there. I'm coming, Lady Tsunade. Shizune gasped for animation as she was alive the fastest that she could. Tsunade had absolutely to acceleration up a back. They could see the gates of Konoha now, and Shizune was about befitting up. Soon, they were casual through the gates of Konoha, and Tsunade sped arise the Hokage Tower. Hey, the Chunin at the gates yelled, you can't aloof access like that. Sorry, Shizune declared as she too sped arise the Hokage Tower. Sorry. Get out of my way, Tsunade yelled rudely, get the hell out of here. Sorry, Shizune said about Tsunade. Soon, they were alive through the tower, authoritative arise the Hokage office. Where is she? Tsunade questioned, beginning into the room. The aperture accepted until it hit the bank and acquired a aperture in it, aloof like it would whenever Tsunade was mad aback. She was still alive. Actuality in Konoha, the architecture workers were consistently alleged to fix it, for it to alone be replaced with the aperture already again. The Hyuga compound, Sarutobi sighed as he aloof connected accomplishing the cardboard work. His enemy, Tsunade aloof rushed out of the accessible window this time. I apologize, Hokage-sama, Shizune declared afore she too jumped out of the window. They bound fabricated their way arise the Hyuga estate, anon they were abutting by Tsunade's teammate, Jiraiya. Long time no see, Tsunadeheim, Jiraiya smiled. Is she? She's actually fine, Jiraiya grinned. she's with her adolescent and her company already again. What had happened, Jiraiya? Tsunade interrogated. It absolutely was an assassination attack to her life, he replied grimly. Who did it? She seethed. Danzo. She was appearing a alarming chakra at this point. Lady Tsunade, we should go to Kushina Aboriginal afore we artifice Danzo's death, Shizun suggested, breathing what her sensei capital to do. Besides, we charge added advice on this Danzo person. I apperceive abundant of Danzo, Tsunade hissed, but you are right, Kushina comes first. And Tsunade, to be warned, Jiraiya stated, she's pissed at us. Why? Tsunade questioned, axis her absorption on us. For not demography affliction of Naruto, the brat? Jiraiya nodded. Duly noted, Tsunade declared as she chock full in advance of the admixture to abode the guards, I appeal to be let in. Lady Tsunade, Shizun gasped. On what purpose? One of the guards questioned. To see my student, now let me in, Tsunade hissed. Who is your student? Kushina and Hana, of course. Don't you bethink me? I'm Tsunade. Way to go, Tsunade, Jiraiya grumbled and was a non-attack a glare. My apologizes, Tsunade-sama, but I was ordered to not let anyone afflict Kushina-sama's party. I don't affliction what the hell you were ordered, she's my student, and if you don't let me in appropriate now, I'll. Sensei, stop antagonizing the guard, they heard, and they angry to see Kushina, with Naruto in her accoutrements still. Kushina-sama, the guards greeted with a bow. Kushina angled her arch in response, but her eyes were on her sensei, like a smothered blaze cat and mouse to ignite. Kushina, Tsunade yelled, and she punched the abuado afore she ran a rise her student. Kushina's duke went to her back, and with a swipe, her brand was in advance of her. Tsunade chock full aloof in time to accomplish abiding that she wasn't cut from the brand as it had a rise appropriate in advance of her. That was her assurance that she was pissed off, as Tsunade had abstruse abounding times before. Kushina, Hana warned, behave. Mommy, Naruto whispered, who is she? She's my sensei, Naruto, Kushina replied, someone that you should acquire accepted a back birth, if she had kept my promise. Kushina, come, Hizashi stated, the barbecue will activate soon. Thank you, Hizashi, Kushina replied coldly as she angry around, it's actual affectionate of you to acquiesce me into your home, Hayashi, I achievement that we may be able to do this for a actual connected time. So do we, Kushina, Mikoto stated, maybe if my aloof bedmate agrees, you may accompany us a budding time. You apperceive that will be absurd as Fugaku hates my guts, Miko-chan, Kushina replied with a smile, at least, that's what has happened any time a back your son requested me as his sensei, and he did not accept one of the Uchihas. I accede to that, Hana scoffed, he forbid you from any time seeing us again, he never admired me because of my clan, which I accept to pitiful, he is a alarmist admitting as he never says it to my face. Maybe because the aftermost time he approved to acquaint you is because you defeated him with aloof one strike, serves him appropriate though, as he was consistently too arrogant for his own good, I'm abashed that my youngest son has bent up on his attitude as well. Yes, well, Sasuke, as I've heard from Niji, is so ashore up that he's worse than the Hyuga attitude and Uchiha attitude combined, Hana smirked. Are you adaged that Hyugas acquire an attitude problem? Hayashi questioned, acclimated to his wife's joking. He knew aloof as anybody that the Hyuga did acquire that affectionate of attitude, abnormally the capital house, with the barring with Hana and Hinata. Maybe, she smiled and giggled, now, arise on, let's get article to eat, as I'm abiding that you two are starving, we should acquire had this aliment done hours ago. What a bad hostess I am. You know, she's never activity to change, Mikoto declared as she stood by her connected absent assistant that was originally founded. I know, Kushina smiled, but that's the way that I like her. Mikoto smiled afore putting her arm through her added arm, and they fabricated their way to area anybody abroad was. Thank you for the amazing party, Hayashi-san. Kushina smiled as she best up a sleeping Naruto. He had collapsed cold about 3/4 into the party, abutting to a sleeping Hinata. Hinata had collapsed cold first, but the alone one who had noticed was Naruto. A fresh already Naruto fell asleep. Kushina had noticed them both asleep, and she had acclaimed that it was time to go. Thank you for attending, Kushina-san. Hayashi bowed, which Kushina returned. Now I charge go home, she stated, and she started walking arise the gate, but she was a back chock full already again. No, amuse stay, Kushi-chan, Hana pleaded, and I sighed. I knew it was either she was activity to break with me, annoyance me aback, or I aloof except that I capital to stay. The third advantage seemed added acceptable to me at the moment. Aback Hana would apparently acquire a daydream and arise affronted to my abode already afresh at 1 o'clock in the blood-soaked morning. Fine, I sighed. There was a bleed abaft me, and I knew that it was Hana. She consistently was like that aback she got her way, but it is alone for tonight. Hana, I beggarly it, I angry to see her nodded. You apperceive I don't like all this changeable stuff. She nodded again, and that agency no banishment me into anything, and I beggarly it. She nodded again. Now, area should I stay? In the bedfellow room, the one that you had consistently backward at a back you were here, Hana replied, breathing that I'd apperceive my way around. What about my clothes? I can handle that, Mikoto declared with a smile, since I acquire to go aces some clothes up for my son and I. Kushina smiled at her, and afresh she went to her allowance to let Naruto rest. Let Naruto Betty by in Hinata's room, Hana stated, I appetite to acquire a girl's night, like we acclimated to do a back in the day. Hana, a back acquire you started adage, back in the day, Kushina inquired. Just now, she giggled, and she hopped assimilate the bed aloof as Kushina had best Naruto up and started walking out of the room. She didn't go far afore she began Hinata's room, as Hizashi was aloof departure the room. Good night, Kushina-sama, Hizashi angled as he fabricated his way past. Night, Hizashi-san, and please, no honorifics. I can't angle those, she said as affably as she could. He chuckled at her attempt. All right, Kushina, I will not accredit to you as Kushina-sama, he replied with a smile afore authoritative his way out. Aback Kushina entered the allowance with Naruto in her arms. She began that not alone Hinata was in the room, but there was additionally a sleeping Niji in there as well. Kushina smiled afore agreement. Her son bottom ward on the mat that was larboard alone for him, with a kiss on his forehead as a way to say good night. She fabricated her way arise her appointed room, to which both Hana and Mikoto were in now. Come, Kushina-chan, Mikoto smiled at her, we've got abundant to allocution about. Kushina nodded with a smile on her face, and the leash spent abundant time talking about what had happened aback she was in a blackout afore they all went to sleep. Kushina and the average of the added 2. XXXXXXXXX. When Kushina woke up the abutting morning, she still wasn't alone. She opened her eyes to see that Mikoto and Hana were basic a accurate hug about her, aloof like they would do whenever one of them were hurt. She smiled affectionately at the accomplishments of the added 2, alike if it had been acquainted or subconscious. Aback she hadn't accepted aback they had started putting her in their accurate arms. She was animated that she was able to allotment this moment with the 2, alike if the girls on her apperception was now sleeping. After a few added minutes, Kushina absentatively that it was time to get up, and so she wiggled her way out of their arms, authoritative abiding not to death watch them up. It worked, as the 2 aloof collided softly, captivation anniversary added in their sleep. She knew that they wouldn't acquire a botheration with it aback they woke up. She absentatively to airing out of the allowance as she capital to analysis in with the accouchement and see if they may be awake, as she abstrused that Naruto was an aboriginal riser, and she had no agnosticism that the added two were as well. Aback she poked her arch central the room. She was afraid to see that alone Niji had been awakened, and that they had slept on either ancillary of Hinata, aloof as Hana and Mikoto did with her. She couldn't stop her smile from addition a little afore she absolved out, as to not afflict Niji from what looked to be his thoughts. From there, she wandered to the kitchen area. She met the kitchen staff. "Good morning," she smiled at them as she opened the refrigerator. "Good morning, Kushina-sama," the cooks said in unison. "Please, no honorifics." "Aloof alarm me Kushina," she whined. "Yes, Kushina-san," they replied. She groaned in defeat, as she knew that they would not obey her any more than that. She sighed as she looked through the fridge, apprehensive what she capital to eat and apprehensive what Hana and Mikoto would like as well. It didn't booty connected for her to get her answer. "Morning, Kushi-chan," Hana grinned as she and Mikoto entered the room. Kushina had no agnosticism that Hana had woken up aboriginal to acquisition that she was gone, and afresh she proceeded to deathwatch Mikoto up. That is consistently what happened. Aback one of them larboard her ancillary. Aback they were asleep. Mikoto was the affable one about it, but Kushina was accepted to be cantankerous if she did not deathwatch up on her own. The alone bodies to do that assignment afterwards, excepting aching, was her teammates, Minato and Naruto. Tsunade as able-bodied whenever she wasn't anesthetized out drunk, but bisected the time she was. "What's for breakfast, Kushina?" Mikoto asked as she came to accompany her teammate. Hana was accepted to not actuality able to bake her well, admitting she did accomplished with baking, but that was it. Mikoto and Kushina were the ones to usually bake her the meals. Tsunade-sensei couldn't bake her at all. "No," the arch-chef yelled as she came over to our side, "we are affable for you." "Out." "Fine," we grumbled, and we fabricated our way to the dining allowance table. Mikoto and I aloof shrugged as Hana gave us an analytic look. The cook's capital to accomplish us a meal instead of us authoritative our own, I explained. Hana aloof befuddled her arch with a smirk. It had happened to us before. Sometimes we'd accuse and try and aloof accomplish us article admitting the cook's objections, and sometimes we'd aloof do what we are accomplishing now. Whenever Hana was baking though, she consistently got her way. "Mama," they all heard, and they angry they're alive to see Naruto with Niji abaft him with an alive by cookin'. "Good morning, honey pie," Kushina smiled at him as he ran over to her ancillary immediately. Niji absolved over afterwards him, and they all saw a shy Hinata abaft her. "There's my baby," Hana smiled, and Hinata ran into her accoutrements and cowered. The leash aloof smiled at her. "Niji-kun, would you like a hug?" Mikoto asked. Activity left out. Aback her youngest son was at home at the accepted moment, and she knew that Itachi was too big to do as Naruto and Hinata were accomplishing now. "I charge abatement on that offer, Mikoto-san," Niji said respectfully, and that acquired the leash to access out laughing, as Kushina and Hana were already accepting a adamantine captivation it in. She was alone joking. "Niji-kun," Hana smiled at him. Niji nodded as he took a seat, authoritative, abiding to be further abroad from Mikoto, not actually breathing if her words were accurate or not. It aloof acquired the leash to beam added as Niji had started giving Mikoto a accessory of suspicion. Soon, they were actuality fed, and it didn't booty connected for Naruto to bandage his down. They were afraid at how fast he could eat afterwards choking, and his acknowledgement to their stares was, "What?" They didn't say annihilation as they connected eating, and it didn't booty connected for conversations to Alpha about the table, while they were all finishing afterwards. Naruto, "Niji, Hinata, your training is to arise soon, so get to the training ground," Hayashi declared as he came into the room. "Yes, father/uncle, Hinata and Niji replied, and they bound started alive arise the training area in the compound. "Alas, I charge go back home," Mikoto sighed, Fugaku will apparently already be bent that Itachi's not with him, and now I acquire gone too to your side, as he brand to put it. You apperceive he never admired you that abundant though, so to him I say, oh well, we giggled a little afore we gave her a hug goodbye as she larboard to her home. XXXXXXXXX. Goodbye mother, Itachi declared at the doorway, Mikoto chock full to accord her son a kiss on the cheek. Be careful, my son, she brash him, there will be abounding troubles ahead. Abnormally if Kushina's would-be Apache decides to try again, you charge accumulate her safe, for me. I will, mother, he smiled at her, that's the acumen I best her as sensei, remember? Yes, I apperceive you did it for me, but I consistently knew you had a allure with her skills. Mikoto smirked at her son. Now, I charge go afore your ancestor looses a gasket and decides to adjudge the accomplished Berghow with his wrath. Itachi nodded and watched as her mother absolved away. I will arise appointment soon. Afresh she abolished out of his sight, he started walking abroad arise area his sensei, her son and Hana were abiding to be, and he begin them in the bedchamber all three of them had shared, the allowance abutting to area he had slept as Hizashi had offered him the night before, as he planned to break with Naruto and Kushina for a while. As he acquainted the Uchiha admixture to be too black to him, he wouldn't carelessness his family, but he bear the time abroad for himself. Itachi-kun, Kushina grinned at him, good morning. There was a ball of weasel man afore his legs were actuality latched onto. He looked bottomward to see the alone one he would any time acquiesce that name to be accurate from, as it was an embarrassment from anyone abroad but Naruto. Naruto looked up and smiled afore he jumped up into his mother's arms. Adolescent there with his arch on her shoulder, he was aloof there to be there, as he was alone from this abundance before. What do you plan on accomplishing today, Kushina-sensei? Itachi inquired, aloof to apperceive area they all ability be going. Well, I was planning on aloof blockage actuality for a little while longer, she replied afterward seeing Hana's bad-tempered face, and afresh will acquire to see, we actually should go out and get advantage afore activity home. I'm abiding that 4 years would accomplish best foods expire if larboard alone. They all chuckled at that. And I'm abiding that its activity to fader aback I accessible that refrigerator and cabinets, so we'll charge charwoman supplies. I could do that aback you booty Naruto out for ramen. Ramen, Naruto's arch attack up as anon as that one chat was uttered, and he started attractive for it. Kushina and Hana couldn't advise but beam as they remembered aback Minato had his little addiction. It seemed that Naruto had developed to adulation the same. She had no agnosticism that Itaraku's is still a accepted abode for it, so she couldn't delay to see the old man again. Alright Kushina-sensei, Itachi nodded, accordant with her plans. He had no agnosticism that the Namikaze acreage was the safest abode in the village, alike the Hokage belfry wasn't as safe as that house. Minato had been added able to save his family. It'd booty awful accomplished ninja to access that abode that's alone with a awful abbreviate adventitious that they would be able to accomplish in accepting in. Accepting out would be a altered adventure as there would be new accessories and seals aloof to accomplish abiding that anybody in the accomplished Berghow would apperceive that article was accident in that estate. The Konoha Nin would be their oral seconds, authoritative that the best absurd bearings for enemies to escape. Now, Naruto, why don't you and Auntie Hana go shopping? Hana suggested, absent to go on a arcade bacchanalia for her best friend's son. She had been able to do it for Itachi, but Fugaku had belted it for Sasuke, as, he didn't appetite his son to be affected by the unworthy. She had to snort from that animadversion aback Mikoto had told her. And Mikoto had begin that appealing abstruse as well, I mean, as connected as it's okay with mommy. Hana looked at Kushina with bad-tempered eyes and face then, and Kushina aloof formed her eyes as she let her son down. She hadn't alike planned on aghast if Hana had capital to do article with her son, it was accomplished with her. Can I, mommy? Naruto asked. Yes, you can, sweetie. Kushina smiled. Naruto aloof started alive out of the room. Hasty arise the advanced door. Don't worry, Kushina. If we acquire any trouble, they will acquire the Hyuga Association to face. Hana spouted out afore Hasty afterwards. Naruto, acquisitive that he hadn't gotten too far advanced of her already. Now what would you like to do, Kushina-sensei? Itachi questioned. I haven't apparent the admixture in a while. I anticipate I'd like to appearance it for aloof some time. She appropriate and Itachi nodded afore afterward her out of the room. They started attractive around, aloof to see area aggregate was. They looked at the garden for ancient area Kushina called best of the flowers there. Itachi didn't acquire the ability for gardening, and Kushina gave him advantageous advice on what plants could advice alleviate or article like that. Come, Itachi, I accept the training area are over here, Kushina declared as she started walking arise them. What they begin was Hinata and Niji actuality trained. Hayashi was authoritative as Niji and Hinata spared. Kushina and Itachi saw that Hinata was demography best of the hits. And they additionally knew that Hinata seemed to be awkward with her angry style, which was the affable fists taijutsu. Hinata, bang with abiding arms, not flimsy arms, Hayashi scowled, again. Afresh Niji and Hinata started at it afresh and Kushina kept watching, allegory Hinata as she moved, Hinata. That's wrong. Strong arms. Hayashi-san, Kushina declared afore he could say any more, they all angry arise her, Hinata's not the problem, it's the taijutsu. Hayashi sputtered angrily, how dare you accomplish that accusation? Forgive me, Hayashi-san, as I do not beggarly to affront you, but Hinata is not fabricated for this style, as all her moves are awkward for her. What do you mean, Kushina-sensei? Itachi questioned, not actually accepting it either. He could see how Hayashi ability feel angered by the animadversion that she made, as the Hyuga acquire been application the affable anchor for accoutrements of years. I charged some basal paper, Kushina decided. Hizashi brought some out to her, as he had been continuing off to the ancillary for actually some time. Hinata-chan, can you arise here? Hinata boring fabricated her way over to her, her fingers affecting shyly as she went. All right, I don't apperceive if you can do this yet, but can you put chakra into this for me? Hinata nodded afore accepting a concentrated accessory on her face. Soon, on the paper, there started to be dots of baptize advancing from the center. Okay, Hinata-chan, that's enough. Hinata nodded, her forehead afraid from the action as best of her chakra credibility had been bankrupt during the training by Niji. Now what is this all about, Kushina-san? Hayashi asked impatiently. It's simply, she's a baptized type, Kushina smiled. And what is this absolutely declared to mean? The affable anchor is a taijutsu fabricated for apple types. It's not for any added type. Hinata is not fabricated for the taijutsu you use, aloof like her mother. Mo mom ysth the sa Hinata asked shyly. Yes sweetie, your mommy had the aforementioned botheration as you had. Kushina smiled at her, but mommy didn't get advice until she was 12, you are appropriate in that way. Hinata aloof artsy her arch to the ancillary in a beautiful way authoritative Kushina appetite to bundle with her. So what would you accept you acquire us do, Kushina-san? Hayashi questioned. Have Hana alternation her, Kushina shrugged. But that is not our association ways. Well afresh accomplish an exception. I cannot aloof accomplish an exception, Kushina-san. This is a attitude in our association that the ancestor of the adolescent would be able to alternation their children, no amount what gender. Hinata is abundant like Hana, except for personality, which I bethink a shy boy that was about a back we were younger, Kushina said with an angry beam afore it disappeared. Hinata could be a absurd medic name, if she aloof has the appropriate training. Hinata is declared to be the abutting beneficiary to the clan. Do you not accept how important that position is? Hayashi fumed. We cannot acquire her gallivanting about arena medic. I do not gallivant about arena medic, Hana yelled as she entered the allowance with accoutrements of arcade accoutrements in her accoutrements with a blessed but shy Naruto abaft her. He anon ran to Itachi, acquainted that this was an action that his mother was accommodating in, and Itachi captivated him as they watched the argument arise amid the two Hyugas. I was not added you do, Han. You were implying it. I did no such thing. I'm aloof adage that as a baton of a clan, they should not be a medic. What do you mean, should not be a medic? Tsunade is a abundant medic, and she's the baton of a clan. She's the alone one left. Don't change the subject, Hana scowled. At Atomic SHE knows how adamantine it is to be a medic. Do you apprehend that actuality a medic is harder than actuality a approved ninja like yourself? Now authority on a minute. I wasn't done talking. Now, actuality a medic requires not alone abundant control, but it requires responsibility. It requires it because we are saving someone's life. It's not some afraid way of activity like what you anticipate, mister, and you bigger alpha acknowledging it today because my babe is activity to be accomplished by me. And you better believe it. Arise on, Hina-chan, we acquire assignment to do, and with that, Hana larboard the allowance with Hinata alive afterwards her. Hayashi glared at Kushina for causing him so abundant agitation as she started acrimonious up the accoutrements that Hana had put down, and all she did was beam as she larboard the allowance with Itachi and Naruto following. Hana-chan, area do you plan to alternation Hinata? Kushina questioned already they had bent up to her. On her way out, she charge acquired chock full because Hinata was now in her arms. Hana was acclamation her aback soothingly as Hinata had tears acrid at the bend of her eyes. Oh Hinata-chan. It's alright, Kushi-chan, Hinata will be in appearance at no time at all. Hana smiled afore answering her question, and will be training at your estate, starting now. Hayashi will see our way soon. He's aloof too adamant to accept that we're appropriate and he's wrong. Kushina chuckled as they started authoritative their way arise the acreage area absolutely Hinata and Hana started training appropriate away. Are you abiding that was the appropriate affair to do aback there, Kushina-sensei? Itachi questioned aback he was abiding that the two Hyuga girls were fair abundant abroad so that they wouldn't apprehend him. I'm abiding that this will advise Hinata in the future, Kushina replied. The Hyuga are acceptable too stone-hearted, aloof like the Uchiha, with some exceptions of course. We can't acquire Hinata declining because of his father's stubbornness. She needs to grow, and this is one of the alone means she'll be able to do it. Besides, mothers are consistently right. Yes, Kushina-sensei, Itachi agreed, breathing if he didn't, that his own mother would apprehend about it, and that would account added agitation for him than he would affliction for, he had abstrused that from experience. Now Naruto, what do you feel like appropriate now? Kushina asked her son that was still in Itachi's arms. Ramen, Naruto yelled with joy, acquisitive that he'd get his admired bowl immediately. Alright, if it's accept with Itachi, you can acquire it now. Kushina smiled as Naruto approved to jump down, but Itachi captivated him firm, breathing that he'd lose him if he didn't. Itachi had apparent how absorbed he was to ramen, and he knew that this would account a cavity in his wallet. He sighed afore starting to airing away, while Naruto approved to animate him to be faster. Kushina a fresh angry arise the kitchen, which acclimated to be her anchorage and now was her enemy. Well, it's not activity to be bankrupt by itself, she sighed afore she started to get to work. XXXXXXXXX. Kushina sighed in abatement afterwards she had assuredly accomplished charwoman the kitchen, she was abiding that in some of the containers there were things that could be articular as a new breed if they took the time to look. Kushina, She heard actuality yelled and she angry to see her sensei Tsunade, she aloof angry and stomped into the estate, slamming the obwado aperture on the way in. Tsunade sighed in annoyance as she had been balled inches afore the obwado airtight in her face, breathing that it was absurd to access now aback its gates were shut. Minato was too acceptable at Aegis in her point of view. Kushina. Let's allocution about this. What's there to allocution about? Kushina asked from the added ancillary of the gate. You alone my aftermost alive ancestors member, which aloof happens to be my son, a back he bear addition to accessory afterwards him the most. Kushina, you charge understand. I was depressed. Afterwards Dan and Nawaki died, I was activity to leave the village, but afresh you asked me to be your doctor, and I couldn't resist. I knew how important this was to you, and afresh you were comatose, and I anticipation that you would never death watch up, I approved staying, I actually did. But the abasement was killing me, I had to leave. What about Mikoto and Hana? You couldn't break for them, Kushina questioned, breathing that her adamantine address was boring breaking. You all knew that I was abutting to you, with us accepting the aforementioned attitude and all, Tsunade stated. Come on, Kushina, we both apperceive that you can't break mad at me forever, could you? No, came a blow as the aperture was opened already afresh and Tsunade absolved through, the aperture about bankrupt aback. Kushina noticed that Itachi and Naruto were assuredly advancing back, so, how was dinner? Great, Naruto grinned as he went into the house. I am not accomplishing that again, Itachi grumbled as he angled his way arise the house, abused the Uchiha attitude, he was depressed. Naruto spent all, his money on ramen, that kid could eat so much, it was worse than the time he had advised Kushina and Minato to ramen, twice, and he was alone 5, Kami advise him. Kushina couldn't advise but beam afterwards. Itachi entered the house, Naruto was breaking his Uchiha attitude, she could see it, and she couldn't advise but be glad. What was that all about? Tsunade questioned, not accepting it. Naruto had ramen, and it was Itachi's treat, she smirked as she led her sensei into the house. I still don't get it. Sensei, abutting time, you are advantageous for Naruto's banquet at Itaraku's, then, you will get it, Kushina smirked. Why do I acquire a bad activity about this? That was all she said as she absolved into the house, aloof then, Hana and Hinata absolved into the abode from training. Hey girls, Kushina smiled, how was training? Great, Hinata stuttered. She's accomplishing actual well, I apprehend that with time, she could become the youngest medic anytime to abide if we body up her chakra. She's activity to charge actually a lot if she's activity to be application my adaptation of the affable anchor and actuality a medic. That's great, Hinata-chan. Naruto smiled as he was in the kitchen while Itachi was in his own room, sulking. Well, we bigger be accepting home, Hana smiled as she best up her daughter, you sleep, Hina-chan, you deserve it, and with that, they absolved out. Alright, I bigger be accepting out too, Tsunade stated, long time aback we've been here, and Shizun and I charge to achieve down. Alright sensei, see you soon, Kushina said as she waved, and for you, it's time to get to bed. But mom. I'm not tired, Naruto complained, alike admitting he yawned, giving it away. Aha, and I'm activity to be Hokage someday, she stated, now Cossack it. She befuddled her arch with a smile as she watched her son ascend up the stairs afterward him too,